the UN system is that there are spokesmen for regions. Africa has a spokesman, Caribbean and Central and Latin America have a spokesman, the Western Europe or European Union has a spokesperson, Eastern Europe or former Russian Soviet republics have a spokesperson, Asia Pacific has a spokesperson, and then the others are called JUSCANs, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and USA. And in the formal statements which were shared with the Kenyan media on the moment last week, the ambassadors representing each of the regional groups gave me a resounding and unqualified appreciation for what I've been able to do to rebuild UNCTAD from some of its most difficult and challenging moments into a credible leading international institution, not only in translating the promise of Agenda 2030 into concrete programs of action, but also, and particularly so today, being a lead institution internationally in monitoring the challenges, the negative consequences of COVID on global economy, particularly in the global south, and proposing solutions, ways of reducing the pain being fought by these many areas. To me, this end of cycle is basically moving next door, because the challenges of persistent low productive capacity, challenges of one step forward, two steps backward in the developing world, and accentuated by the crisis brought by COVID, the collapse of the hospitality industry globally, the struggles of the transport sector globally, the virtual disappearance irreversibly of some small and medium-term enterprises in many developing countries, the disruptions of global supply networks, meaning that even if we recover from COVID, there's a slow way of adjusting markets in a way that we've never predicted before, the rising economic nationalism in the developed countries and its impact on market access for developing countries, the drying up foreign direct investment. These are all issues, not just in the repertoire of international development discourse, but front burner of the challenges of my nation, Kenya. So I thought, God giving me the strength and health to dedicate the balance of my public life in addressing those issues I've been helping address globally in my own home country. As I come in, I cannot pretend any superior knowledge of where this country is and where it is going. But I can have the privilege of standing outside the forest. I can see the canopy better than those who are next to the stems. And while we all celebrate the ingenuity of the Kenyan population, you would never know it until you have seen a few other places, and I've had the privilege to see a few other places. I'm painfully aware of the fragility of economic recoveries. In banking terms, they usually talk about the sentiment of the financial markets. Even in stocks, they say, what's that sentiment? Now, in politics, if public leaders intensify toxic exchanges, it impacts the sentiment in economic investor thinking. One of the weak sides of any struggling democracy is usually the cost associated with transition. And we are in a country which is 18 months of a transition. Unfortunately, the tensions, binary thread of unsavory language that usually we associate with the last phase of a campaign is already with us 18 months too soon. And I thought, as I walk back home, I wanted to use the opportunity of my first press conference to urge all our leaders that they can settle scores, but don't settle us lower. This population of our country is not limited in its capacity, but disruptions occasioning hostility, occasioning mainstreaming of political bad manners does not represent part of the solution to our national challenges. I want, in my period here, coming months, to learn, to be part of a conversation about how can we save our politics from this rising tension and combativeness so early in the day. Can we find enough players? Can we find enough consumers of a politics that says, let's take a step back. Let's look at what it is. Who are we trying to serve? Are we showing sufficient empathy for the vulnerable? Those whose livelihoods have been shattered by the crisis associated with COVID. Are we showing enough attention to the hopeless, young men and women without university education or any other level of education, whose dreams of a livelihood are ever threatened by the continued absence of meaningful opportunities? Are we showing sufficient attention to the reality that creating hope for the hopeless, reviving the livelihoods of those who have been victims of the disruptions, is not possible without building enterprise Kenya? As I arrive in the country, I have two main things I want to do in the immediate term. I've been away on and off for 7.5 years. I can have a glossy picture about my country, but I have to reach out to know things that I have not known during that period. So, starting tomorrow, I'm started on a learning exercise. Try to understand the sense of the population, the sense of challenges. How does it relate to my profound knowledge and experience? How does it inform active engagement in the politics of national revival? My learning experience will start in my home area in Western Kenya for the next few weeks. Consult, seek advice, but also seek blessings. On the basis of this, I'll come back to the national stage, where I intend then to formally declare the start of a campaign to seek to be the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. And after that declaration, I commit that I will tour the country to learn, to share, to identify people we can walk the same direction with. Roll out a canvas on which we can all write our dreams and see if on the basis of this we can bring hope, we can bring empathy, and we can contribute to the renewal of enterprise Kenya. I want to thank you very much for your kind attention. And I very much look forward to interacting with the media and visiting and learning from and talking to and encouraging the citizens of this country. I'm ready to take a few questions.
Good afternoon, my name is Gideon Moi from NTV.
Yes.
And we have heard before that you want to be President of Kenya. And probably you have been able to articulate some of these issues in your inaugural press conference. But what has driven you to stop or to step down from a very lucrative job and come back home and want to be president? And this is a gamble, actually.
That's a very interesting question. In some regions of the world, they ask me why you are stepping down from a very influential job. In Kenya, they ask me why I'm stepping down from a very lucrative job. Many years ago, in 1991, as a newly returned student who had just been living for 7 years in Europe and started on a career with a young family, I resigned from gainful employment to be totally dependent on the meager income of my wife who is sitting next to you.